Veterans, Canadian Armed Force members, MP Darrell Sampson, MP Darren Fisher, MLA Joyce Treen, Commander Steed. It is a great honor and privilege for me to be here to recognize 8 Atlantic Canadians for their outstanding service to the veteran community. Today they will receive the Minister of Veterans Affairs Commendation Award. That goes back to 2001, where our Governor General saw a need and saw that many people were working hard to make veterans and their families' lives better. In fact, the insignia that was made to design this award was done by the Queen herself. And this is now going on for some 15 years, and it recognizes those people who do extraordinary service to the men and women who serve this great nation. I can say, without a doubt, what I've learned over the 9 months is that the Ministry of Veterans Affairs cannot do it alone. We need strong advocates, people willing to roll up their sleeves, to do the hard work in their communities, to build veterans' lives, and we see that amongst the 8 recipients, whether that's working with homeless veterans to get them into a place to live or find them a meal, whether that's working through your Legion on commemoration, whether that's doing a special project in your school, whether that's helping out at your local November 11th ceremony. All of these things are so important to not only commemorate the sacrifice and service of men and women who have done the hard work and heavy lifting our nation has asked, but also to make their lives better on a day-to-day basis. Because what I've learned over the last 9 months is that military service is not easy, not only for the member, but their families. Like I said, they're asked to do the heavy lifting, and when they come home, we have an obligation to do the best we can to ensure that their lives continue on with opportunities to build them, recognizing that military service is difficult. And you in this room have done a great job in partnering with us to ensure that that happens. I have lived in peace and security since 1969, the day I was born. Largely that came from men and women who have gone before and who continue to serve. From Bimini Ridge through Juno Beach, from our efforts in Korea to the peacekeeping efforts of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, from our role in the Gulf War to the Afghanistan mission, to now our battle in the Mideast. These are truly extraordinary accomplishments. Men and women signing up to do what our nation asks. And really, they represent the best and the bravest of Canadian society. And the people in this room who are going to receive that accommodation award know that in their hearts. That's why they roll up their sleeves to help them build their lives. True joy to be back in Halifax. I think this is the 4th time I've been here since being elected. I can say now I've been in all 10 provinces, and I think some days I should have been born in Atlantic Canadian. You know, it's got a feel and a vibe to it and a sense of pride and self and not taking life as seriously as some people out west. It truly embraces the caring, sharing attitude of the fact that at the end of the day, we are all in it together. We need to see success in our neighbors and our friends and those who struggle. And that's what each and every one in this room does. Sees their success in helping others reach a better place. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. So it's a great joy to celebrate this. It's with great pride that I will hand those out with my members of Parliament here today. Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
Merci. Thank you, Minister Hehr. We will now proceed with the presentations. I will briefly introduce each recipient one at a time. During your introduction, you will be escorted by a staff member to join the minister in front of the commendation banners for presentation of your commendation. Official photos will be taken during the presentations. Recipients will then be escorted back to their table. After the final presentation, a group photo with the minister will be taken, as well as photos with recipients and their families, should you wish to do so. You will each be sent an email with a link to the photos in the next few days. Alternate arrangements will be made for those of you who do not have access to email. Full citations on each recipient appear in your copy of the commendation program, just in case there's troubles with the mic or with my accent. Our first recipient is Mr. Carl Scoville Brown. Mr. Carl Scoville Brown is a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. Originally a member of the 8th Canadian Hussars, he became a member of the Regimental Association upon his retirement and continues his involvement today. Mr. Brown ensures that sick members are visited, that families of deceased members are cared for, and that veterans receive dignified funerals. He is also personally responsible for the establishment of the 8th Canadian Hussars Museum in Sussex, New Brunswick. Upon realizing that nothing existed to commemorate the contributions of the regiment, Mr. Brown developed a plan, recruited like-minded individuals, established committees, and worked to create a museum. This involved countless hours gathering, cataloging, and ensuring memorabilia, and directing fundraising efforts to acquire a venue to display the regimental history. Thanks to his efforts, the 8th Canadian Hussars Museum is now well established and was recently named the best small museum in Canada. Mr. Brown also convinced the association to fund a memorial tablet depicting the story of the little colt, Princess Louise, that became the regimental mascot. Mr. Brown is also a longtime member of the Royal Canadian Legion and sat on the board that replaced the old and crumbling cenotaph in Hampton, New Brunswick. This project required significant community engagement, fundraising, and dedication. Mr. Brown's financial expertise has been a huge asset to the Legion, helping them achieve the stability they continue to enjoy today. Félicitations. Congratulations, Mr. Brown. Our next recipient is Mr. Darrell Cook.
Nice name.
Mr. Cook served with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for nearly 39 years. While in high school, he also served in the 84th Independent Battery, 14th Field Regiment Royal Canadian Artillery. Over the years, he has trained air cadets in Stephenville and Gander, as well as Army cadets in Badger's Quay and Upper Island Cove, Newfoundland. For the past 18 years, Mr. Cook has been the Secretary and Treasurer of the South Shore region of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Veterans Association. He is also a member of Royal Canadian Legion Branch 24 in Bridgewater, having served as member of the executive for 13 years. For the past 13 years, Mr. Cook has been service officer, ensuring that veterans' claims for benefits are presented to the proper authorities. He is currently a zone commander of the Royal Canadian Legion. In addition to this work, Mr. Cook's dedication to veterans is demonstrated and clearly evident through his annual visits to veterans throughout Lunenburg County. In addition, Mr. Cook organizes entertainment and refreshments for branch visits to the Camp Hill Veterans Memorial Building in Halifax and the Veterans Unit at the Fishermen's Memorial Hospital in Lunenburg. Estacion, Mr. Cook. Our next recipient is Mr. Arnold Robert Guerin. Mr. Arnold Guerin is a veteran of the Korean War who served with the Canadian Armed Forces until 1983. Mr. Garron has been a member of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 155 for 44 years. In this time, he has held numerous positions, including Puppy Chairman, Service Officer, Honors and Awards, First Vice President, and President. He also served as Zone Commander for 6 years. As a strong advocate of remembrance, Mr. Garron assisted a school in his community to set up a memorial cabinet which houses the military memorabilia of local veterans, including some of his own items. Mr. Garron attends all Remembrance Day ceremonies in the community, which includes 6 schools, 4 churches, the Veterans Care Facility, and a retirement home. Mr. Garron was also chairman of a committee set up to raise funds to purchase a fully accessible van for veterans in the community to attend and participate in community activities. The committee was able to raise enough for the van and also put a significant amount into a maintenance fund. Mr. Garron continues to be highly active with the Legion, supporting Remembrance Day ceremonies, Earth Day cleanup, and the Puppy Campaign. Congratulations, Mr. Garron. Our next recipient is Mr. George Wesley Grant. Mr. George Wesley Grant is a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces. He became a member of His Royal Canadian Legion in 2005 and has sat on the executive for many years, including serving as Sergeant-at-Arms, Zone Service Officer, and, for multiple years, as President. Currently, Mr. Grant is his Legion's Service Officer, a role he has been in for the past 10 years. As a Service Officer, he has worked tirelessly assisting many veterans with their benefits requests. Mr. Grant also makes a weekly visit to veterans at the Soldiers Memorial Hospital in Middleton, bringing cards for special occasions, organizing celebrations, and taking time to visit with them. Mr. Grant has arranged for several memorial services to take place and has thoughtfully arranged for the service to be situated where veterans in the hospital who are unable to attend can look out their windows and observe the proceedings. He has also been heavily involved with the organization of many commemorative ceremonies, including Remembrance Day ceremonies. Mr. Grant has been very active with the Puppy Fund and makes multiple visits every year to a local school. Mr. Grant. Next, we have Mrs. Debbie Lowther. Mrs. Debbie Lowther is the chair and co-founder of Veterans Emergency Transition Service Canada, VETS Canada. VETS Canada was started in 2010 upon Mrs. Lowther's and her husband's realization that veteran homelessness was a big problem in Canada and that it was receiving very little attention. With the founding of VETS Canada, teams of serving Canadian Armed Forces members, RCMP officers, veterans, and family members went out into homeless shelters in Halifax to assist homeless veterans. From its humble beginnings, word spread, and Vets Canada grew into a national organization now in every major city and in every province across Canada. They use a boots-to-the-ground approach, going directly to the veteran in need, putting them up in a safe place, and bringing service providers to them. Vets Canada has empowered more than 1,000 veterans to get off the street and back on their feet. Mrs. Lowther has become an expert on the subject of veteran homelessness and has worked non-stop since the founding of the organization. As chair of the organization, Mrs. Lowther oversees hundreds of dedicated volunteers across the country and is an officer of the board of directors. She has participated in many high-level meetings and is directly responsible for success Vets Canada has realized. Félicitations. Congratulations, Mrs. Lowther. Our next recipient is Mr. Edward A. Orson. Mr. Orson is a Canadian Armed Forces veteran who has been volunteering his time to help veterans for more than 20 years. Currently, Mr. Orson is the Regional Director of the Canadian Peacekeeping Veterans Association for New Brunswick, a position he has held for the past 2 years. As Regional Director, Mr. Orson provides important information about veterans' issues to provincial chapters and promotes and organizes joint events for different chapters, such as parades or social events. With the Miramichi chapter of the CPVA, he also holds the position of Communications Officer and previously served for 12 years as the chapter's secretary. In his time as secretary, Mr. Orson worked tirelessly to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the chapter's operations. He ensured that the needs of all members were met, including those veterans who were sick or elderly and required special assistance. He also encouraged members to visit or telephone sick veterans and often performed these tasks himself. These services continued beyond his tenure as secretary. For several years, Mr. Orson also organized and coordinated the chapter's Veterans Week activities at schools and visits to the Veterans Wing at the local hospital. He has also been involved with the National Association, serving as the National Membership Director. In this position, Mr. Orson improved the membership record system so that all members could be tracked accurately and improve members' access to association services. Congratulations, Mr. Orson. Our next recipient is Mr. Joseph S. Savoy. Mr. Savoy is a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces and has been active member of the Royal Canadian Legion for approximately 28 years. Mr. Savoy has served in many executive positions throughout his time with the Legion, including 5 years as Assistant Service Officer. Recently, he traveled to Ottawa to attend the Veterans Outreach Program and now volunteers for the program with the Legion. Through this program, Mr. Savoy visits veterans, sometimes traveling distances of over 3 hours. As a member of the Comfort Fund, Mr. Savoy conducts visits to veterans at their homes, in hospitals, and in nursing homes, visiting and delivering comforts to veterans. For several years, Mr. Savoy has also dedicated himself to visiting local cemeteries to perform on-site maintenance that is needed and also to identify veterans' graves that need markers. Mr. Savoy has also extended these needed services to widowed spouses in the Cape Breton area that are not on the VIP program. On occasion, Mr. Savoy has also taken on the responsibility of organizing memorial graveside services for members of the Legion. Mr. Savoy. Our final recipient is Mr. Michael Simmons. Mr. Simmons is a veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces with over 28 years of service. Mr. Simmons became involved with the Royal Canadian Legion and became the Legion's chaplain as well as a member of the branch executive. Mr. Simmons has officiated at many veterans' funerals and spoken at many Remembrance Day, Battle of the Atlantic, and Battle of Britain commemorative ceremonies and services. Mr. Simmons' work has become essential within the Northumberland Veterans Unit. He is the unit's chaplain, provides visitation, conducts worship services, and provides invaluable end-of-life spiritual and practical support for veterans and their families. Mr. Simmons is a strong advocate for veterans within the unit, as well as for those living in the community. He works to ensure that all veterans receive high quality and safe care. As a veteran himself, Mr. Simmons is able to help articulate the concerns of a veteran across his or her lifespan. Mr. Simmons also plays an active role on several committees. He has chaired the Shuttleton Harris Memorial Hospital Foundation Committee, has been treasurer with the Northumberland Veterans Association, Veterans Comfort Fund, and has been a member of the Aberdeen Hospital Emergency Department Planning Committee. Mr. Simmons is also a member of the Admiral Murray Royal Canadian Naval Association and honorary member of the Overseas War Veterans Association. Félicitations. Congratulations, Mr. Simmons. Mesdames et messieurs, would you please rise for the playing of God Save the Queen? Ladies and gentlemen, that officially concludes today's event. Thank you all for attending and helping make this event a success. I also wish to thank Mr. Stephen George Wegner for his lovely musical performance today.